Hyperborea and the long-lived people who live 14 million years. This is the supposed map of Hyperborea and also the way ancient Greeks traveled and reached, of course, North America. Ancient Greek philosophers believed North America, which was at that time not joined to South America by Panama, was basically Atlantis. And you'll see that something here found in Siberia, it looks like an atomic weapon was used, and this must have been a giant whose silhouette was imprinted on the rock. So the Argonauts reached the blissful age of millions of years. Microvians, meaning they lived a very long time, who lived for millions of years with constant youth and absolute bliss. But after the sixth dawn came enlightening the people, we arrived at the prosperous, rich nation of Microvians, that is the long-lived people of Hyperborea, who live on many named 12,000, consisting of 100-year months, with a full moon being outside of all evils, and after fulfilling their life's destiny, with sweet sleep they receive the end of death, according to the Orphic Voyages verses. So they are not interested in the life and works of men, as they feed on sweet food among grassy meadows, drinking divine drink, under divine dew, and shining all on the dear contemporaneity, children and parents, because they know that their brains and minds do what is just and to say what is prudent. Those long-lived Microvians are the mysterious and blessed people of the Hyperboreans, to whom the god Apollo often went, and for this reason they have nicknamed Hyperboreans. About the eternal and superhuman bliss of the Hyperboreans, the divine poet Pindar mentions very vividly in his 10th Pythian. And the verse says, "Neither by boat nor by foot can you find the wondrous way through the struggle, place of gathering of the Hyperboreans. Neither diseases nor the pernicious old age prevail in the holy generation there. They live without pain and struggle, avoiding the superjudicial nemesis. Once, with a heart full of courage, the knight of Danae, Perseus, the knight meaning guard, arrived at the group of blessed men as he was led by the goddess Athena." Also, Pindar mentions in his third Olympian that the uncle Hercules also arrived in the country of the Hyperboreans, from where he brought to Olympia the wild boar with which the Olympians were crowned. And he will place around his crown the crown of glaucous-colored olive with Amphitrionidis, Hercules, once brought from the shadowy source of the Istro as a beautiful monument of the Olympian labors, after he convinced his healer with words, Apollo, municipality of the Hyperboreans. And then his anger, according to the verses I'm reading for you, and then his angry soul, prompted him to go to the land of Istria. There he was received by the horse-tamer daughter of Letus, when he came from the ridges and multi-turned miches of Arcadia, then forced from his father to carry out the orders of Eurystheus. He wanted to bring the golden-horned doe, which the nymph Taygetus once dedicated to Orthosia or Artemis. Looking for her, he saw that Chthon, behind the breadths of the cold north Stathis, were there a wonder. The trees, he had the sweet desire to plant them at the end of the 12-story horse road. Hercules again went to the country of the Hyperboreans to bring the golden apples of the Hesperides, as Apollodorus informed us in Library 511. Quote, "And after he had completed his labors," that's Hercules, the labors of Hercules, "after he had completed the labors in 8 years and 1 month, because Eurystheus did not accept the labors of the pastures of Augus and Lernea either, he appointed him as an 11th labor to bring the golden apples from the Hesperides, These were not in Libya, as some have said, but on the atlas to the Hyperboreans, end quote. Very important information about the Hyperboreans is also provided by the historian Diodorus Siculus, relying mainly on the philosopher Hecatius Abderitis, who lived during the same time of the successors of Alexander the Great, that's about 330 BC, and wrote a book about the Hyperboreans. And I quote, "And since we have considered the parts of Asia written towards the Arctic worthy of writing, we do not think that it is irrelevant to refer to the mythological stories about the Hyperboreans. So from those who have written the old mythologies, Hecatius the Abderite and some others, they say that on the other side of the Celtic islands by the ocean, there is an island not smaller than Sicily. This country is situated towards the Arctic and is inhabited by those called Hyperboreans because they lie far from the northern breath of the winds. This one is fertile and produces everything, and also because it has an extremely temperate climate, it produces fruit twice a year. They mythologize that Lito was born in her there, and for this reason they honor Apollo more than the other gods. They are like priests of Apollo, since every day they constantly praise this god with odes and honor him extremely. There's also on the island a magnificent mosque of a temple of Apollo and a remarkable temple of spherical shape adorned with many vows. There is also a holy city of the god, most of whose inhabitants are guitar players and constantly playing the guitar, singing hymns to the god, praising his deeds. The Hyperboreans also have a special dialect and speak very familiarly to the Greeks and especially to the Athenians and the Delians, having received this favor from ancient times. They mythologize that some Greeks visited the Hyperboreans and left luxurious vows at the temple inscribed with Greek letters. Also, the Hyperborean Avarice came down to Greece long ago in order to renew the favor and kinship with Delians. And they say that from this island, the moon is seen to be quite a bit distant from the earth and to have some obvious terrestrial regions. It's also said that the god also comes to the island every 19 years, in which the restorations, returns to the same positions of the stars, take place. And for this reason, the 19th year is called by the Greek metonos alone. According to this surface, the god plays a guitar and dances continuously at night from the vernal equinox until the sunrise of the Pleiades, reveling in his successes. And the rulers of the city and the rulers of the temple are those called Voreades, meaning north. As they are descendants of Voreus and always succeed by family in offices. Herodotus also gives us important information about the Hyperboreans in the fourth book, Melpomene, of his histories, although he doubts their existence. D32 says, but Hesiod also mentions about the Hyperboreans, as well as Homer in the Epigonis, if indeed Homer wrote this epic. And in D33, the first time the Hyperboreans sent two daughters to bring the sacred offerings, which, as the Delians report, were named Hyperocus and Laodice. With them, the Hyperboreans sent for safety 5 urban men as attendants to them, those who are now called Perferis and have great honors in Delos. Verse D35 says, they themselves, the Delians, say that Argi and Opis, who were Hyperborean virgins, having traveled through the same people, arrived at Delos even before Hyperocus and Laodice. They say that these arrived to bring the tribute they ordered to Eileithyia for the speedy delivery, and Argi and Opis came with the goddesses, and they have also paid other honors to Argi and Opin. Verse D36, let these things be said about the Hyperboreans, because I do not mention that what is said about Avarice, about whom they say that he was a Hyperborean and that an arrow carried him around the whole world, an arrow meaning a spaceship, without him eating anything. If there aren't some people from the north, there are others, and there are others from the south. Very important information about the Hyperboreans is also provided by the traveler Pausanias, who had collected a lot of ancient knowledge. Quote, they say that the cow was brought to the Greeks under Hercules from the land of the Hyperboreans, who are people who live on the north wind. First of all, Lysius Olin, in a hymn composed to Achaea, mentions that Achaea arrived at Delos from these Hyperboreans. Afterwards, Melanopus Simmius, in his Ode to Opin, and Heka Ergi mentioned that they also arrived at Delos from the Hyperboreans. Even before Achaea, Aristeas and Proconisus also mentioned the Hyperboreans, who perhaps had more information about them than the Isidonians, who had reached, as he says in his epics. Boio, the provincial woman who composed a hymn to Delphi, reported that the oracle was made for the god by Olinus and other arrivals from the Hyperboreans, and that she was the first to divine, the first to sing the hexameter. Boio composed the following, quote, truly, here the children of the Hyperboreans, Pegasus and the uncle Aegeus, establish an infallible sanctuary, unquote. And I also listed other Hyperboreans at the end of the hymn. He mentions Olin, who became the first prophet of Phoebus and the first to compose a song of ancient epics. From the combination of these above passages, some important conclusions can be drawn about the mysterious people of the Hyperboreans. 1. Since no one can reach them by land or sea, it's evident that their country is not on our earth. It's also proven by reports that the country of the Hyperboreans is very fertile and with a temperate climate, and that from the Hercules brought the hen to Olympia. Of course, there is no cow to Olympia. Of course, there is no fertile island with plants in the remote Arctic regions, but instead eternal cold and a complete lack of plants. Also, since from the vernal equinox to the rising of the Pleiades in the month of May, there is no night at all in the farthest north, but on the contrary, continuous day, it's impossible that the country should be there where Apollo plays the guitar and dances continually during the nights during this time. The above is also reinforced by the etymology of the word Hyperboreus, which means above the north. The name Boreas means god Boreas, meaning north wind, as well as the northern point of the horizon, while it comes from a root that means rock, term from which also comes the word Hyperboreos, meaning mountains. Therefore, it's clear that the blessed land of the Hyperboreans is in the skies, and for this reason it was believed that the goddess Leto was born there. We cannot precisely locate the heavenly location of the country of the Hyperboreans, but since they are dedicated to the god Apollo, their country is probably located on the triple star system of Sirius, which is the astral manifestation of the god Apollo. 2. The Hyperboreans have a superhuman nature, since they are not affected by disease and old age, but on the contrary, they live for an enormous amount of time. Indicative of the eternal bliss of the Hyperboreans is the ancient Greek expression fortune. Hyperboreas usually happiness. It means have the fortune of Hyperboreas usually means unusual happiness, extreme happiness. Based on the above reference of the Argonauts to the Orphics that the Hyperboreans live for 12,000 years, which have 100-year months, we conclude that the lifespan of the Hyperboreans is 12,000 years for 12 months each year for 100 years each time, meaning 14,400,000 years. The superhuman nature of the Hyperboreans is also proven by the above reference by Herodotus that avarice did not eat it all. Also, the superhuman Hyperboreans are closely related to the Greeks. They use a special, apparently Greek dialect, and are the sacred people of Apollo, one of the greatest gods of the Greeks. It's therefore obvious that the Hyperboreans are an extraterrestrial Greek race comprising an elite part of the divine and universal species of the Greeks. That's why they possess high developed technology, as evidenced by the report of Herodotus that Avarice traveled over the earth with a flying arrow, hence a spaceship, some kind of a craft, hence some sophisticated flying vessel of the Hyperboreans. Therefore, the Hyperboreans are the heavenly extraterrestrial Greek dedicated to Apollo, and thus they can well be called supreme healers of the god Apollo or Apollonia Fruras. Number 3. Simple mortals were never able to ascend to the heavenly land of the Hyperboreans, that is, in the skies, but only demigod heroes such as Diogenes, Perseus, and Hercules, and the Argonauts arrived there. On the contrary, several Hyperboreans visited their epiktonos relatives in Greece, going down to Delos and Delphi, and thus it becomes evident that these two sacred sites of the god Apollo are the earthly endings of space-time gates to the heavenly country of the heavenly country of the Hyperboreans. Another space-time portal to the country of the Hyperboreans is located near the North Pole, through which the Argonauts reached the Hyperboreans. Probably this portal is related to the peculiar operation of the earthly electromagnetic field at the North Pole, since electromagnetic fields of a specific nature and arrangements have the ability to form vortices, which in turn open portals. And we know that recently NASA has found that, yes, we have those connections where the electromagnetic field lines touch could be space-time portals, according to scientists. Number 4, the name of several of the Hyperboreans who arrived in Greece are not at all accidental, but symbolize their heavenly nature, their extraterrestrial nature, and their direct relationship with the god Apollo. 4a. The name Avarice means weightless and indicates that Avarice was not bound by gravitational forces, both because of his flying ship and because of his heavenly superhuman nature. B. The name Olin corresponds lexically to the number 888, which is one of the sacred numbers of the god Apollo, since it symbolizes both the musical octaves of the god of music Apollo, as well as the stellar octave formed by the orbits of Sirius A and Sirius B in the triple star system of Sirius. C. The name Aegeus comes from the word Aegea, meaning road, and means one of the roads, while it was also the name of Apollo as the guardian of the roads. This name indicates the spatio-temporal roads which connect the country of Hyperboreas with Earth, our planet Earth. D. The name Pegasus is related to the city of Pegasus, which was the center of the cult of Apollo in Thessaly, northern Greece. E. The name Argi means the bright one, which as it comes from the word Argis, white, bright, sparkling. Argi was also called Aegeri, which means the one who acts from afar, while Apollo was also called Aegergos. Immediately after the Hyperboreans, the Argonauts reached the rugged Cimmerians, apparently close to the North Pole. In addition to the positive portal to the heavenly world of the Hyperboreans, there's also another negative energy or geophysical portal which leads to the dark hypothonic world, and near it lived the hypothonic Cimmerians. Indeed, a multitude of testimonies and elements of the hollow earth theory confirm that there is a huge communication channel of the epicthonic and hypothonic world, that is the sky with the earth, close to the North Pole, from where hypothonic beings ascended and continue to ascend to our world, among which the people of the Cimmerians. The following items are indicated. A. The ESSA-7 satellite received on November 23, 1968, a photograph of the cloudless North Pole region, in which a hole of enormous dimensions is depicted. Although there is a strong disagreement over the interpretation of this photograph, its existence alone raises several questions. B. In 1908, the American writer Willis George Emerson published his book The Smoky God, in which he recorded the story of the Norwegian fisherman Olaf Jansen, who stated that through a huge hole in the Arctic Ocean, he reached the hypothonic, the underworld, the inhabited world of the hollow earth. C. Hitler and many top Nazi officials firmly believed in the existence of a subthonic underworld inhabited world whose channel of communications with the extraterrestrials, epicthonic world, was located near the North Pole. In search of this channel of communications, Annenberg, Abherneb, Director of Historical Researchers of the U.S., had organized an exploratory mission in the Arctic Ocean. This I've translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.